Hello and welcome to episode 90 of the FPL Hangover podcast, where we raise the bar and lower the tone all things FPL related. Halloween is finished, the decorations have been put away, and winter is officially here. It would seem that Fantasy Premier League is also taking its cue directly from the natural world, as FPL point returns, at least for myself, are pretty barren right now, as barren as the trees out back. But before we get into it, allow me to introduce a man who is not barren, he's full of life. My podcast partner in crime, Seamus. How are you getting on, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's earlier on a Monday that we're recording this than we normally would, so I'm going to have a bit more life in me this week. Not so much full of FPL points, but that's the way things are going this season. But yeah, got more energy in me this week. How are you?
I'm not too bad. Yeah, it's been pretty fun week. I like Halloween time. Did you enjoy the spooky period? Did you get up to any shenanigans, any Halloween movies?
Yeah, I watched some Halloween movies, but not too much. I think did we mention it last week? Watched Halloween.
You did.
That was it. We didn't watch anything this weekend. I think we just signed up for Amazon Prime and just watched regular movies, non-Halloween movies.
So, cheap plug there for Amazon. If you're listening, get on to us. We can do that every week for a nominal fee. But
not cheap at all. Not cheap at all. They're sponsoring the show now. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, at least they're sponsoring me. They're giving me free Amazon.
You must
at least for 1 week.
You got to start hooking me up with that shit, man. But yeah, there was no need to watch horror movies this week, Seamus, because there was nothing scarier than the game week 7 that just went by. At least, I don't know. I mean, how are you feeling about the game week? Like, are you happy with your results? Give us a quick rundown of your week.
Yeah, let me pull up my team. Happy? I wouldn't say I'm happy. There's lots of rooms for improvement. So, like, 2 games left to go in this game week, of course. Okay, we're recording before the Fulham West Brom game and the Leeds Leicester game. So 8 games gone. I'm on 47 points with 2 players left to play, both Justin and Barnes. Team wise, McCarthy in goals. He actually got 3 points. He made 6 saves, despite the fact he conceded 3 goals. Alexander Arnold again doing nothing. James for Chelsea got me 6 points, so started him. Happy with that to see him play. Captain Salah, 16 points. Son, Kane had those. Everyone has those. I had Trossard in the Brighton game. Calvert-Lewin got me a late goal and a couple of bonus points, and Jimenez with 2 points. So 47 points. Game week rank as it stands right now about 2.8 million. I'm plus about 100k in last week's overall rank. I'm at 2.5 million now. I was at 2.6 last week. So yeah, that's not too bad. How about you? What's your points at the moment?
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, just before I get onto mine, like, you still have Justin and Barnes to play. So maybe if Harvey Barnes either A, does the business for you tonight, you know, boom, boom, green arrows all the way. And if he just happens to get rested, which, you know, was kind of a theme this week, you have Lamptey sitting as first sub with 9 points. So it's kind of, you know, this week could still end up okay for yourself, Seamus. I am not too dissimilar. I think I got like 45 points. All my prepping, and I don't have my fucking points to hand. But I think I got something like 45 points. Similar again, you know, not really moving. The post-wild cards hasn't been as fruitful as I was hoping this week. I was hoping this week we kind of, you know, I was really excited before the game we kicked off in terms of my team just looked set. I didn't have to make any transfer. I think we both rolled our transfers this week. You did as well, didn't you?
I did, and that's where, when you were asking, are you happy? I was like, you know, my score isn't terrible. Like, I had points there. I got my captaincy decision right. It was always going to be, I must have changed my mind between Son, Kane, and Salah. I don't know how many times on Friday. Thursday, I think I was set on Son as my captain. I thought about it. I was like, yeah, Son, Brighton is set up perfectly for Spurs. Like, they like to play with the ball a lot. They can be caught on the counter attack. Son racing in behind. They've got big defenders but slow defenders, apart from Lamptey, who's quite fast. But then I started thinking, okay, Lamptey is probably going to be marking Son, and he is quite fast. Maybe I don't want to go Son. Maybe I want to go Harry Kane, but I knew you had Harry Kane as captain. So then I was thinking Salah. I'll go Salah. Nearly talked myself back into Kane, but stuck with Salah. Right decision. So that was one good thing. The main things. Oh yeah.
I was saying I was actually pretty happy that you had Salah as the captain come yesterday evening because, Kane had He had a goal inside the first 10, 12 minutes of the match. Penalty.
Mm.
First, I think it's the first Premier League penalty for Kane this season. Not
No, he
sure.
scored against United. He scored against United.
Oh, you're right. You're right. No, he did. But yeah, it was something that you always kind of have in the locker, and it proved similar with Salah, who also got a penalty. But I was pretty happy. I was like, okay, boom, there's the goal, level with Salah for goals scored. Now it just needs to, kick on one more goal, even an assist. I'd have been delighted. It turns out that that was not to be. With Bale's late winner, it removed any hope of bonus points for Harry Kane, and he returned an okay 6 points, but 2 points less than Salah, who did return the 8. So you won that little battle, Seamus. You have to have been happy enough with that one.
But yeah, but I lost out in other areas. Like I've Lamptey on the bench. I think most people I saw this week had Lamptey on the bench. I mean, he was against Spurs. I would have just thrown him in there if I didn't already have Trossard. And it was like, there's no way I'm playing two Brighton players in this game. And I said I'll play with Trossard. And when I saw the lineups at the start, and Potter rotated heavily, and Trossard was playing as the nominal centre forward, really. Now he moved around quite a bit. I was like, right, I'm happy with this. Even though there's no target man to play off of, which probably would suit him more because he's not really a great lone central striker. I was like, okay, well, he's the most likely going to be the most advanced player probably. Then I thought of it. I bet you Lamptey scores. This was about like 10 minutes in. I was like, I bet you Lamptey scores today. I was like, nah, I just missed it. But anyway, that's whatever decision that is. Okay. The main thing I'm upset about, if I'm upset about anything, and upset is probably a harsh word, was the fact that I could have easily gone for Grealish for Barnes this week, and I considered it, and I said, no, roll your transfer. I want to have two. Gives you more to play with and move with, and Leeds away isn't a terrible game for
Harvey Barnes.
So I was like, yeah, stick with Grealish, or stick with Barnes instead of Grealish. The main reason being that I just fancied Southampton. I heard you on you made a guest appearance on a different show this week, and a lot of you were kind of talking up that you thought Aston Villa would beat Southampton. Now, I kind of fancied Southampton in the form that they're in to turn over Villa, and so it seemed that's the way it went. But two late goals saw Grealish come away with massive points, so that feels like I left that behind. I could have had those 15 points. I'm sure Barnes will do nothing today because he's done nothing since I've had him in. So
yeah, well, I mean, I did guest appearance on the Llama Lounge on YouTube. So if anyone wants to check that out, I would highly recommend it. It's a sound bunch of lads and a lovely host as well. So that was a great time. Really enjoyed that. Hopefully we get back there soon and maybe get them on this side of the channel, so to speak. But we chatted about the Aston Villa and Southampton game, and I fancied a Villa win. I think watching the match, 3 goals from direct from set plays, a corner, 2 free kicks. There's not a whole lot. I don't know, Villa can... I mean, of course, there's a lot they can do when it comes to defending a set fucking play. But, there were 3 kind of goals out of nowhere. Even Ings' 4th goal was, a massive kind of, what you said, low XG shot. Isn't that what all the cool kids say these days? Cracked it in from outside the box, smashed off the underside of the bar, and 4-0 down. And not something that keeper or owners of, Emi Martinez wanted to see too much because, basically it was a bit of a battle of our keepers this week. You had McCarthy, your namesake, and I had Martinez after jumping off of McCarthy in my wildcard. So I really, when it was 0-0, was kind of going, like, I'll just take a 1-0 Villa, preferably Barkley scores, but just so long as McCarthy doesn't keep his clean sheet. And then all of a sudden, it's 4-0 down. They're 4-0 down in the second half, and I'm just thinking, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, McCarthy's going to keep his clean sheet, isn't he? And Seamus is going to be laughing. In the end, they did concede a couple of late goals, and it ended 4-3. But McCarthy coming away with 3 points, that must have, were you even concerned that it was a battle of the keepers this week, Seamus?
I was at the start of the game week before it all kicked off. I didn't watch this game. I was out on one of my long runs at the time, and I said I'll come home and I'll see what happened. I'll see who has emerged victorious in the Battle of the Keepers. Second only to the Battle of the Bastards in Game of Thrones in terms of battles. But I came back and I saw 4-3. I was like, Jesus. And then I saw the story of the game and I saw the late goals. And I thought to myself, you know what? I could really have, got a lot more points here if they hadn't made those late goals. But look, 3 goals is the same as two, as long as it's not four. So you're right about the XG. The XG stats, I'm looking at the Fancy Football Scouts members area here, the stats. XG wise, Aston Villa should have won probably 2-1. They had an XG of 1.96 to 0.73, which shows you that the goals Ward Prowse scored from were probably low quality goals, but like he's a wizard at them. He's a wizard, Harry.
He is.
He's brilliant at those. Then Vestergaard got a header as well from his assist, so he got all the points apart from Grealish, who selfishly decided to steal a load of points at the end for his owners. I say selfishly, I'm just bitter.
Well, I mean, you did mention it in the chat as well, so I can't hold that against you. You did say you were considering swapping Barnes, and I mean, possibly like with Barnes and Trossard in your team, it would not have been a stretch to look to get out of that. Villa still have, a couple of decent, like a good few decent fixtures coming up. A really nice run of fixtures, and it wouldn't have been shocking. I did double check. Even though I was pretty sure you still had Barnes, I double checked. I was like, he didn't get Grealish, did he? But they would have been happy. What did he come out with in the end? I think it was like a 15-point return or something like that.
Grealish got 15, yeah. So there's no way Barnes is matching that. Even if Barnes did a goal tonight, which he won't do, that would be he'd probably come around with 7 or 8 points. He's not getting 15, so look, that was just I wanted to kind of have the freedom to have 2 free transfers, and I was thinking of different things I could do for that. Possibly then getting Bruno in game week 9 for that game against West Brom. I kind of have that possibly up because he could be a good captain option. I was like, well, maybe I just want to bank my transfer and free up some funds with another move, and that will allow me that. So I was just thinking aloud, and because I hadn't dived deep into the stats behind Grealish's underlying numbers, I just left it. I didn't make any transfer. And look, maybe I should have just played a bit more casually and went, fuck it, he's getting points, just get him in. Would have served me better.
Yeah, it seems but I mean, you know yourself, as soon as you hit that transfer button, Grealish gets injured in the warm-up and he doesn't play, and that was kind of mentioned at the top of the show. That was kind of a running motif this week. A lot of rotation. You also wished pre-Wolves match that you were hoping for a Seiss benching. That came to fruition. He was benched. We saw Matty Ryan benched. Pulisic injured in a warm-up, which meant that Werner was originally benched. Maupay not even on the team sheet. And I'm sure I'm missing out a bunch because there was a lot. And you mentioned Lamptey. We both have Lamptey sitting on our benches. I think we're going to see, I read somewhere now, don't quote me directly, but it's something like Lamptey has fucking 500,000 owners or something like that. 300,000 benched him. 200,000 are getting him off the bench. Do you know that kind of way? So, that's kind of the week it was in. It's like, okay, yeah, anyone that suffered a rotation and had Lamptey sitting there, they're going to be pretty happy. But we're going to do something a little bit different this week, folks. We don't usually run down the fixtures and do any bit of analysis. At least not anymore. We used to do it in the early days, but it just dragged out the show too long. So we kind of, cut it down, did our own style of talking shit, really. But this week we decided we were going to podcast early. We didn't have time to put out any call for questions, so we said, fuck it, we'll do a bit of match analysis. And we've kind of already touched on a few of them there. But looking at that Wolves and Crystal Palace match, Seamus, a bit closer, because that is, we'll go chronological. I don't see why not. Let's not confuse the issue. And 2-0 win for Wolves. It was something that I mentioned on Llama Lounge. I wanted to say I fancied a 2-0 win, but was afraid that Jimenez would pick up both goals, so I ended up kind of settling on a 1-0 win, and I was going to let him have his 1 point. But in the end, Jimenez, thankfully drawing a blank for anyone not with him, and Podence then returning for those who had stayed faithful. So, Seamus, what are your thoughts on that Wolves Crystal Palace match? It wasn't too shocking, I don't think, the result.
The only thing that was shocking about it was how well they looked in the first half. Wolves have like all season started really, really slow, and I was there before this game. This will be a dead cert for 0-0 at halftime, and then Wolves to win it in the second half. But they came out, they played brilliant. They were well deserved of their lead. XG wise, it was just an XG of 1.28 to 0.66. So the stats will tell you they were a much better team. Um, Goal threat wise, let's pull it up here. They had 15 attempts, 9 in the box, to Crystal Palace's 11 attempts, 6 in the box. So they were the more threatening. Podence was really good. A small bit unlucky he didn't get an assist for the first goal for the newcomer Ait Nouri, who I hadn't heard of. He got a 15-point haul on his debut, goal, clean sheet, and 3 bonus. Only 5.0 million. The definition of a differential, he's 0.2% owned, and probably most of those came in after his haul. So yeah, Podence owner is rewarded for their patience. I got off him on my wild card a few weeks ago, and one of the decisions on my wild card was to stick with him or go for Trossard, and I went for Trossard. He's got me 1 assist in that time. Podence has got 1 goal. He's done better. So
Just about though, he's just about done better because a lot of managers losing patience with Potence this week. Like if we were to look at quickly, 200, what was he sales 20. I don't know how to read this fucking thing, but but yeah, he suffered quite a lot of sales, and yeah, you don't blame him. He was blanking, getting subbed off in 78 minutes, but you just kind of felt that he was showing when you watched it to use the cliche eye test. He was showing a lot of potential. He was getting those shots in. He looks quite the player, and yeah, this week he, as I said, delivered for his owners. Ait Nouri, never heard of him. I don't know how interested I am in him. Fantastic return, but as you mentioned, he's 5 million. You got to be looking at Kilman at the moment. If you can save that million and drop to 4 point, I think he's 4.2. Maybe he's gone to 4.3, but he was 4 million. He was the big test this week. This was a bit of a litmus test. Is what happens when Seiss is either dropped. If Seiss is dropped from the left wing back position, is he moved into the left centre back role, or does Kilman maintain that? And thankfully for Kilman owners like myself, who took a bit of a risk on my wild card, I was like, okay, 4 million, fuck it, see what happens. He starts clean sheet. I'll take it. That's 4 points more than Jimenez returned. So
yeah,
you know.
I will say that I was talking about maybe getting Seiss in, or I said I had a James problem for Chelsea because I didn't know if he was going to play or not. Surprised he did play because he's been dropped for a few games. He came back for the United game, but I thought that was just probably because they wanted to play 5 at the back, and James would be trusted in a wing back role with Azpilicueta alongside him. But Azpilicueta was just fully dropped this game, and he got me the clean sheet. But I wanted to hold off until I saw what happens. Who won the battle, or who's winning the battle, and it looks like Kilman is in there, and Seiss is out until Kilman has a couple of bad displays, maybe, or unless Seiss gets the odd game at left wing back. But I can't see Ait Nouri being dropped next game now after playing so well. He's considered a really hot prospect. I think he's only like 19 or something like that. He's one of the, I think, behind only a few players in Europe last year, considered as hot property from the upcoming defenders. So yeah, I assume he'll probably be him and Marcel until Johnny comes back, kind of rotating a bit. And yeah, maybe Kilman will drop out a game or two possibly, but I don't see it. I think he's in, and I think now I'm going to jump on him probably at some stage when if I want to, I could go from Trent to Kilman. That would save up a wedge of cash and would allow me to do some serious restructuring.
Yeah.
Because there just isn't value in defenders. So let's get on a cheap one who's a nail starter in the team, who's kept 3 clean sheets in the last 4.
And unlucky to lose one last week, in the dying embers of the game. So yeah, no, I mean, Kilman, I think he's going to see a lot more investment. As you said, there's a lot of people debating that Liverpool defense it's still going on, and I'm sorry if you're sick of listening to it, but that's the fucking topics. That's not, we don't choose them, we just talk about them, and we'll get into that when we get down to the Liverpool match. But quickly before we move off of Wolves and Palace, I suppose one more notable thing there was Willie Saha delivering a 1 point return for his owners, which I'm not one of. I'm happy that he's kind of. I didn't expect him to get much. As I said, I did think Wolves would keep a clean sheet. Palace are just. They're not a very attacking side. I know Zaha is nailing it this year so far, but they're not a very attacking side. Milivojevic is starting again, so you gotta assume like he was stepping up to take that penalty that Palace had subsequently ruled off or VAR'd out, whatever way you want to say it. So he was stepping up. So you know Zaha doesn't have penalties in his locker now. Miljevic has gone off and gotten himself a red card, so he's going to be out for a few, which means I'm sure Zaha will kind of step back up. But you know, looking at Crystal Palace's kind of upcoming fixtures, I mean, you're not too worried if you're a Zaha owner. I mean, Crystal Palace have a home match against Leeds, which, you know, won't be easy. Leeds are going to, you know, fucking be all about them, all at them. But they have following that up with Burnley, Newcastle and West Brom. So Leeds, Burnley, Newcastle, West Brom. That's a nice set of fixtures for Crystal Palace. And I don't think Zaha owners will be too worried, but we'll definitely have to, you know, I think hide behind that. I will, anyway. I won't be having Zaha.
No, the fixtures are there. The fixtures are there. You wouldn't sell. You possibly buy. Leeds this week, like you said, not the easiest. We said Wolves and Leeds. I think we spoke on last week and we said Wolves and Leeds are pretty tough. But after that, then he's got 3 lovely games. He's not going to score every game. He's got 49 points after 7 games. That's 7 points on average a game. He's brilliant value.
He is.
Why wouldn't you have him?
Why wouldn't I have Zaha?
Yeah, why wouldn't you have him?
Because he's plays for Crystal Palace. That's why. that's the only reason I can think of. I mean, Crystal Palace, like that one of those games that he got one of those goals in, and again, great if you own him, but they didn't have a fucking shot in that match. Do you know? So you gotta think his XG now. I should probably not be mentioning words like this if I don't have a stat stand, but you gotta think Crystal Palace as a whole, their expected goals are very low, and that's why I'm not looking at Zaha, and I would be looking at more so the likes of a Jack Grealish. But look, we'll get on to Villa. Next match was on Saturday morning. It was the midday kickoff, and that saw Sheffield United come up against a Man City squad without an Aguero, but did have the return of a KDB. It didn't have a Phil Foden, which for myself was a bit disappointing. I didn't expect him to start, to be honest with having played the 90 minutes or starting the match midweek Champions League. I was kind of fully expecting him to be benched, so it wasn't as bad as it was last week when I mentioned, you know, losing my rag in the toilet and you know, being upset. I was well prepared for it this week, but unfortunate to see him coming on for, you know, 10 minutes with very little time to affect the game. I was hoping, you know, if he got on a bit earlier, like that 60-minute mark he did do it, you know, then he's got a bit of time. Not so much, but City still came out on top, beating Sheffield United 1-0. Not the scoreline I think those who've invested in City would want to be seeing, especially from, you know, a match against a squad like Sheffield United, who have been pretty leaky. I wouldn't say leaky, but nowhere near the team we saw last season. And, you know, for City to just basically scrape by a 1-0 victory won't be too, what would you say, appetizing for people trying to get on City, especially with, I believe, who have they got next week? Liverpool? Yeah, Liverpool and Spurs in the next
Liverpool next week. Yeah, I mean, the stats, we'll just go back to stats again. I mean, like, they were on top. They were the better team than Sheffield United, who kind of offered very little. But their XG wasn't screaming that they should have smashed them at the same time. They had 16 attempts in total, 10 of those in the box, shots in the box generally being of higher quality and higher XG. They had only 2 big chances in total. The goal they did score was from outside the box from Walker. It was a great finish. But yeah, they didn't really pepper. Your man Ferran Torres started up front for him this week, center forward in lieu of Aguero or Jesus, and he looked very good. Kind of moved in around a bit, so yeah, he's one to watch. It was kind of interested in him. Kevin being back, KDB, he was interesting. Got himself an assist, 6 points. Won't complain about that if you had him. I don't know if now is the time to bring him in against Liverpool, but I'll be watching that game closely. I think we all will, and anything of interest in there, we'll all be piling back on him soon. I'd rather him than Sterling.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say that, because I definitely think KDB is I think the safer of the two options, and Sterling is the more explosive of the two. As we've seen that in the last few seasons. So I definitely don't think managers who go with a Sterling over a KDB are making a mistake or doing something that I wouldn't advise or I wouldn't suggest. But I do. I'm kind of on the fence, especially if everyone starts coming back to Man City in a few weeks. Like I did a little the Fancy Football Scout Academy did a bit of a write up on Man City and how we felt their assets were. Stop biting your fucking nails, Seamus. God, I'm gonna have to come over there. No, I can see you now.
I muted my mic and everything for that.
Well, people watching can see this shit. And if you are watching and you do enjoy watching Seamus bite his fingernails, please subscribe, because that's the kind of stuff you get here at the FPL Hangover. But yeah, we did a little bit of a write-up for the Fantasy Football Scout Academy where a bunch of content providers all gave their thoughts on City. And one of the things I mentioned was that, like, right now, City are coming up against... coming into two tough matches, Liverpool, Spurs. Not going to be the easy top two in the league, I believe, at the moment. So you don't want to go heavy on City. Like, no one's thinking, oh fuck, I'm captain in KDB. But right after that, their fixtures take a really nice turn. Burnley, Fulham, the immediate two, and then there's a Man United one sandwiched in between a bunch of other lovely ones. So what I kind of indicated in my little piece in that article was that Spurs, at the same time as City come into this lovely run of fixtures, are running into a horrible run of fixtures. And you can kind of see, like, City, Chelsea, Arsenal all coming up game week 9, 10, 11. I don't know about you, and we'll get into the Spurs match in a bit more detail, but I don't know if I want to have two Spurs players, and I don't know if I want to have no City coverage. So I can see a lot of managers, myself included, looking to swap either, a Harry Kane or a Son, one or both. Yeah, for me, it'll most likely be Son, just because he's in that position, and upgrading him to a KDB. So fingers crossed that everyone stays fit and healthy until then, because that's kind of one of my moves I'm planning, Seamus.
Yeah, I don't think that would be unpopular with people listening. I think I hadn't really thought about it too much, so I'm glad you kind of pointed it out. But there is a good fixture swing there occurring. I was looking at Spurs fixture swing, and I was looking at it kind of same as yourself. Do I want like two players in this period, or is one going to be okay? And I was like, well, one is probably going to be okay. Where do I want to move? I kind of feel a small bit different to you in that I'm all kind of thinking of taking money out of my forward line now. I've said it in the past, I traditionally don't like having money in my forward line, so I'll probably come off Kane, even though he's been looking great this season so far, and bring the money back to one of these cheap strikers. There's tons of them out there that are banging in goals. It's fantasy penalty league, this year. It's penalty takers again. I'm thinking about Wilson and Zaha and everyone. Like this week again, look at the captains. Salah, penalty. Harry Kane, penalty. Aubameyang scores a winner for United, penalty. All these big players getting penalties. So I think just maybe go.
Yeah, but you just mentioned yourself that Kane. I suppose, are you looking at like who are you looking at? Kind of the likes of Callum Wilson. Like, has he turned your head a little bit?
Yeah, well, someone like Callum Wilson, even coming down to Danny Ings from him would save me like 2 million. Put that 2 million into Trossard, with a bit of money, like maybe some money I might make from. Who else? Like that could give me Pulisic or Ziyech if Ziyech continues to be in good form. That could allow me to come out of, if I do decide to come out of Trent, which I'm strongly considering, another couple of million there. That all of a sudden Trossard becomes KDB. I've got three big midfielders. What could become Bruno Fernandes. I think I want to start putting my money back into to midfield and just go with kind of. It could even be somebody like Chris Wood. It could be somebody like, it's not going to be Maupay, but it could be just somebody who I think is on penalties, a forward who's banging in goals. It could be Bamford. I don't know. So these are all players I want to put my money into. It could even be like the guy you sold, Charlie Austin. He's not on penalties, granted. But
Charlie Austin. Get a grip, Seamus, will you?
Oh, not Charlie Austin.
Shea Adams.
Oh, Shea Adams.
Well, if you're going to turn that dig on me, you're right. I did get rid of Shea Adams, and you got rid of Ings, so you can't say shit. And I am considering going back and maybe turning Brewster back into Adams. It was only like, it depends. he's been tipping away. We saw in the first couple of game weeks of the season, his stats, his underlying numbers were showing that it was, on another fucking in another FPL season, he's the Bamford. He's kind of all of a sudden this explosive under 6 million option, and he's kind of still tipping away. Picked up an assist this week. I don't know. I do like the idea of Ings though. I think if I was to go back to Southampton, you mentioned the penalties. That's all you need to say these days. I would be looking at Danny Ings over Shea Adams, but you segued nicely into Chelsea there by mentioning their star man this week. He was such so that he made the thumbnail for our YouTube, first of the season. Fair play to you, Ziyech. 3-0 to Chelsea. Ziyech picking up a goal and assist and 3 bonus points as Chelsea put Burnley rather comfortably to the sword on Saturday. What was it, 3 o'clock kickoff? So yeah, he's got your head turned, James. What's he coming in at now? He's 8.0. He's 8 on the money, 3.5% owned, and the fixtures: Sheffield United, Newcastle, toughie against Spurs, but then Leeds. Yeah, I mean the fixtures are okay. The FDR there is showing you 3. I don't know if people can see it no, they can't see it on the stream, but they're kind of middle of the road-ish, but he does look like he could be the star player for Chelsea. Now I can hear paper rustling, so that can only mean you got a couple of Seamus stats lined up for me. Is that right?
I pulled out my my preseason logbook here where I was looking at players, and Ziyech was one of those players preseason. I was like, this guy's gonna be great. He got injured, so he was an on option for the first few weeks. He's had a few minutes off the bench. He played in Champions League and scored, and he's now started and scored and got an assist with 14 points this week. I think going forward, he's the sort of player, if especially if Pulisic is out, that who knows how long he's going to be out for, that Ziyech could be just thrust into the team. I can see, Ziyech, who else? I can see Ziyech, Mount, and
Havertz.
Who's the other one? Havertz behind Werner, or maybe like Ziyech is on the right. As I said in preseason, he reminds me of Mahrez. He's that sort of left footer playing on the right, likes to cut in and take a shot. Now the goal he scored this week probably should have been saved by Pope. He seemed to be kind of lose his footing or kind of lost sight of the ball and was beaten probably a bit too easily. But he did set up Werner late on then as well. So he definitely has goals and assists in him. Over the last, he averages 11.3 goals a season so far in his career to date with Ajax, FC 20 and Heerenveen. I can't even pronounce that team's name. He's averages 12.43 assists per season. Loves a shot. Averages 4.69 shots a game, and 3.4 key passes a game. So he is definitely going to be creating a lot, and he'll be shooting a lot. And the way things are going, he could be an option. Not just yet, but you mentioned, where do we go from Spurs assets like Son and things like that? If we wanted to come off him, he'll be somebody I'll be watching very closely this coming week.
Yeah, 100%. This week, what do Chelsea have coming up, Seamus? Who have they got?
Chelsea's fixture
Sheffield United
is Sheffield United. So yeah, and they're at home. So look, I think he could be in for a good game there. But Sheffield United didn't look terrible against Man City. They just attacking, they're very poor.
Yeah.
So I mean I would expect another Chelsea clean sheet here. Chelsea defensively, just to mention them defensively for a moment, Zuma is going to steal all the headlines because he got his 3rd goal of the season. So that's 3 goals in 7 games. Like, that's fantastic. He's got 3 assists. He's on 46 points. He is the top scoring FPL defender in the game this season. So, you'd want to be looking at him. But the keeper's made a huge difference. Okay. He's come in, he's kept 3 clean sheets in 3. He didn't seem to play. He didn't play 2 games ago. What happened to him 2 games ago? I was just looking over his stats.
He had the COVID. No, I don't know if I can say that. I was just joking. No, he was just injured. He had a bit of a knock.
Is that what it was? Yeah. So he's only played 3 games in the last 4 since he's come in, and he's already got 19 points.
Yeah, no, he does.
Which incidentally is the same as Trent after 7.
You are dying to get onto this Liverpool boat. You're going to have to bite your tongue a little bit longer. Yeah, there wasn't too much more coming out of that Burnley-Chelsea match. I do, as you said, I think defensively Chelsea do have a lot of options. It pains me to admit that Zuma is becoming, a bit tough to ignore, because not so long ago we got DM'd someone's wildcard, and, obviously it's not, giving advice isn't exactly what the fuck we're here for. As you can tell if you've listened to the last 30 minutes, is we just kind of
Just shit on players,
just
like,
shit on
basically.
players. That's what we do for an hour or an hour and 10 minutes a week. But I did say, and I think it was Nuclear Atoms, who's a regular listener of the show. I think I said that Zuma was like the only issue I saw with his fucking team, and that was 2 goals ago. And I remember, and since I said it, I've just been like, "Whoa, sure," That's some bad advice, but hey, that's what you get for asking us. You pay peanuts, you get monkeys. But no, absolute
I would
dynamite start to the season for Zuma.
I would just mention one player we haven't really
Shit.
touched on. Patience is paying off for players this season, and Werner owners, if you stuck with him again, got another 7 points. You were a bit lucky because he was starting on the bench until Pulisic got injured, but he played and he scored, so you think he's in for the next game. So
Yeah, I mean, like,
congrats if you had that patience.
he's blanked in one, two, three, four, five, six out of the or 5 out of the previous 7 matches. So I suppose it'll still be putting people off. I think his sales are also still, going down. And as you mentioned, he was starting on the bench. Now, I'd say that's more to do with resting a player that, played midweek and has played every match since the start of the season. But yeah, maybe patience is a virtue. I know I haven't shown any of it this season, and it's duly bit me on the arse. But someone who did show patience were Liverpool. They left it real late to knock West Ham on the noggin and take all 3 points. And yeah, 2-1. Here you go, Seamus. Here's your chance. Tell me all about Salah. No, I'm joking. The big question with this match is Liverpool conceding yet again. They conceded in it was the opening 10, 15 minutes of the match, I think. I can't remember back that far. A lot of
Yeah,
yes.
they seem to concede first in every game. Now they've got such talent, that they will come, they can come back and win. And I think they're leading like the stats over the last season or two with winning points from losing positions. But they'll often give up a sloppy goal. Now we all thought that this was just possibly a symptom of the restart last year. Title hangover celebration. A hangover from their title celebrations.
Roll
But
credits.
they started off the same. They've started the same this year. They've given up a goal to West Ham. Sloppy, very sloppy goal. Van Dijk's not there. All Gomez had to do was volley the thing out of the box. He kind of stooped to head it out, headed straight towards an Aston Villa defender. Even with Allison back, they're kind of giving up those chances that are just fucking to conceding goals. There's no two ways about it. Like West Ham had a really poor XG. 0.5 is their expected goal involved in this game. Liverpool more than deserved to win. I think West Ham without Antonio are a different team. I still thought they looked good and threatening on the counter attack. They just never quite got the final ball right.
Yeah,
But Trent looked okay, but he seems to just firing crosses without any real aim. I said this to somebody while I was messaging while watching the game, kind of going, previously he would put it into an area you knew who he was aiming for, and he'd invariably find that person's head. But now he just seems to fire in balls into dangerous areas and just hope somebody's in there, and there's not. Firmino is playing rubbish, so he's not really in there. So it's only really Mane that's going to be in on the end of his balls.
yeah, well, that's a different podcast, but I would disagree with you there. I think that Liverpool
Yeah.
didn't look that great against West Ham. I thought West Ham were unlucky to concede the penalty. Salah makes a meal of it, which he's entitled to do, but he makes an absolute meal of it. And they got into the at a halftime 1-1. Against a really organised West Ham side, and yeah, no, I actually disagree. I think West Ham would have been deserving of a point, but that's the difference between champions and whatever the fuck you'd call Manchester United these days, because Liverpool were able to grind out that win, even though I think they definitely weren't at their best, regardless of whether you think they were much better than West Ham. They definitely weren't at their best, and they haven't really been since the start of the season. But that's just a little sidetrack. But going back to your Alexander Arnold,
Yeah.
sorry.
I was just going to say, I hope it didn't sound like I was shitting all over West Ham because West Ham were good, but I just thought Liverpool kept turning up the pressure until it got to a point that I was like, Liverpool are going to win this. They're going to score here. It was just that kind of, you just felt it was going to come true. And Jota scored and had a goal disallowed from anyway, which I think was the right call because Mane flew into the keeper and he went through the back of whoever it was, like Bonner or someone. That shouldn't have stood, and I'm glad it didn't. But then Jota, that ball from Shaqiri was a lovely through ball. Mane wasn't interfering this time, and Jota stuck it away. So I said it the other day. Somebody asked us, was
DD.
Jota a good option?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, Jota is a good option. I don't think you agreed at the time, but just comparing him to the likes of Phil Foden, who's around the same price, around 6.5, they're both rotation risks, but they're playing for top teams, and he'll get minutes now. You got to think Firmino's starting place is under threat now.
Well, I think that's the big difference. I think we have a bit more information. You're right. We got asked, I think it was Didi last week asked us, is Jota becoming an option now? And I did. I dismissed it. I don't like. He played in as part of a 4 the week previous, or was that midweek? No, I think it was the week previous. I'm mixing up Champions League now at the moment, but he did. He has been like, he didn't start. That's the big thing, and I'm getting rid of Foden this week, so that tells you exactly what I think of. The likes of those 6 million odd priced players that don't have a guaranteed spot in the team. I don't really have much time for him. That's just the my preference, but I get it. Like, I mean, if you're willing to go, some weeks he'll be on the bench and some weeks he'll start, and he'll be a massive differential for you, because he will be, and he is looking like I was speaking out of turn last week, because as you mentioned, Firmino's looking out of sorts big time, and maybe it's Jota that he needs to bring in. And you heard Sky talking about it at the weekend. Maybe he's the man that kind of was slowly he eventually was going to be brought in to replace Firmino, or kind of slowly wean Firmino out. Fucking hell, that's tough to say. Wean Firmino out of the team, and and maybe that's going to happen a bit faster than we thought, because like his performances are getting pretty difficult to ignore right now for Klopp, I'd imagine. And he picked up, what was it, 2 bonus points this week. Robin Salah have some, which I was happy for, no captain. So I was like, Jota coming on, and Robin some precious points, but Liverpool do have City and Leicester in the next 2, so like I'm assuming that'll slow down any transfers, and it'll give us a bit more time to see if Jota has made his way into Klopp's starting 11, especially by the time that they come up against Brighton in game week 10 and Wolves in game week 12. Now, both away matches, but I don't think that should really pose too much difficulty for Liverpool. But before we move on, we just touched on it, but I know you do have thoughts on the Trent and Robertson situation, and on just the Liverpool defence in general. And where, like, you're obviously jumping off him. Is that where your mind is? Are you holding on to him for one more week?
I'm very strongly thinking. I'm finding it very hard to just rationalize keeping him. He's got 19 points after 7 games. Like, he's played all 7 games. I wanted to kind of check the stats. A lot of people are like, what happens next? This happened last year when you sold him, because he wasn't getting the points. But last year when he wasn't getting the points, it was because, I don't know what he was on after 7 games. I should check this out. But, I'd say he was on more like what Robertson's on. Robertson's on 29 points or something like that. So he's only on 19. If he was on 30 points, I'd still be like, that's not enough after 7 games for the amount we're putting into him. But 19 points is less than 3 points a game. For example, I think we all agree that Ramsdale as an FPL pick this season has been a complete failure thus far. 18 points from 7 games. Trent has only got 1 point more.
Yeah.
And that's a keeper who's not going to get attacking returns. So I looked into the numbers, checked, what their underlying XG, things like that was. This is after 7 games. And looked into his numbers, compared it then to Robbo. Okay, so you can compare it to. He's got an XG of 0.5. Okay, his open play XG is 0.08. 0.38 of that is coming from free kicks. Okay, by comparison, Robbo's XG is 0.97, and that's all from open play. His expected assists 1.02, which is what he's on. He's got 1 assist so far this season. Robbo's, by example, is 0.78. A lot of that's going to come from open play, I think, for both of those players. Penalty area touches, he's got 9 penalty area touches. Robertson has got 29.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't...
20 more touches.
Yeah, you don't need to look at the stats now. I'm happy you did. This isn't a dig at that, but you don't need to look at the stats to see how much Robertson is getting at that back post. Like, he had a shot there against West Ham that he, skied it into the fucking rafters, but he was still in that area. Exactly, he's in that position to take the shot, and You just don't see that from Trent. But Trent did pick up an assist midweek in the Champions League, puts it on
Fuck
Salah's.
that. Fuck it. I don't care about fucking Champions League, man. He's doing nothing for us. Like if I had Robertson, I would be tempted to hold because his underlying numbers are good. Getting touches in the box, open play XG is pretty good. XA is pretty good as well. Looking at it here, I was amazed at this. I know Robertson takes a lot of corners. Robertson's taken more corners than Robertson's taken 27 corners this season. Trent has only taken 17.
I said that at the start of the
Yeah,
season.
like way more corners. If you look at it here, just to go back to it as well, apart from that, goal attempts, he's had 11. Robertson's only had 6. All of Robertson's has been in the box, okay? But 9 of Trent's attempts so far this season have been from set plays.
Yes.
So from free kicks. So 9, he's only had 4 shots, not from free kicks. He hasn't scored a free kick yet. Yeah, he's come close a couple of times, but are we going to hold on to him just for the chance of free kicks? Maybe. Chances created, 13 by 13 by Trent, which is nearly 2 a game. 3 of those are big chances. Robertson has created 10 chances, 3 of those big chances as well, so they both are tied for that. Robertson has 2 assists, not 1. So, Robertson's probably overperforming then. They both have 1 clean sheet. So, look, my question to you... Oh, no, sorry, just to go in a small bit more. This is how much I dug. I was like, how does he compare to some other players? 13 goalkeepers in the game have more points than Trent. 13 goalkeepers.
Okay.
Fucking goalkeepers, man. They all cost no more than 6 million. The most expensive costs 6 million. Most of them cost 4.5, 5 million. 2 goalies have the same amount of points as him, one of which is Mendy, who's only played 3 games. 28 defenders have got more points than him. 5 have got the same amount of points with him, including Harry Maguire.
Well, there you go.
So the same amount of points as Harry Maguire. So, like the next question is, how much do we think that's going to improve? Okay.
Well,
how many clean sheets do you think Liverpool are going to keep this season? They've got 31 games left.
I believe, and again, I'm fucking pulling. I'm pulling these out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure I read that. Was it? No, I am mixing that up. I'm not going to say it, but I'm just remembering like that's actually I'm mixing up.
That was a dream.
That was a dream. Yeah, reality and dreams. I need to sort those out. My question to you, I'll answer your question with another question. Who do you think will be the top 3 teams with the most clean sheets at the end of the season? Do you know?
I'm thinking Man City now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking Cancelo would be a really good replacement. Now, obviously, I don't want to do it this week against Liverpool. Might hold off on that, and it gives me more time to think on it. That's why I'm thinking I might get rid of Trent.
I actually think Cancelo is a trap. I meant to mention this when we were going through the City Sheffield United game, but we kind of the Ziyech segue was too easy to jump onto. But I do. I think like he just like this week he's been playing for a start. He's been kind of playing as a centre midfielder, which is kind of weird. Like this week he was without the ball was a left back, and then with the ball was pushing into midfield. I don't know.
That's the way he's kind of been playing. Yeah, he's starting off in a left back position, but kind of invariably ends up almost centre midfield a lot. Yeah,
I'll need to see that a lot more. Like I'll need to see that kind of consistency in terms of starts a lot more before I start looking at him. Like he does look lethal. He picked up the 2 bonus points. Was it 2? Yeah, he picked up 2 bonus points I think this week. He got was his assist? That's probably why he got the bonus point. I'm asking.
No, he didn't. It was previous week he got the assist in the West Ham game.
You're right, but he did get the 2 bonus points and the clean sheet. So he's coming out of that with 9 points. But like, I don't know. I'm worried. Zinchenko is fit again. There's a lot of matches. I just don't know. I mean, it's Pep roulette.
You're worried about Zinchenko?
No, I'm worried about Pep fucking roulette. Is what I'm worried about. Simple as that.
See, but I'll tell you why I like Cancelo. It's because like he's obviously got a very specific role that Pep wants him to do. So to me, that means Pep has a plan for him, and he's obviously integral to Pep's plans at the moment. We know what you can get from Zinchenko. Fuck all, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
So not expecting him to go in there. Mendy's looked a shadow of the player they bought with the injuries and stuff like that. Yeah, so maybe he could go in, but like he can also play right back. I don't think he will because I think Walker's playing excellent this season. But my point being, I think Man City defense are going to start keeping clean sheets now. They've kept 2 in their last 3. Pep is a kind of defensive coach anyway, in that, if the defense is conceding, we say Man City are an attacking team, they are, but Pep, if they're conceding lots of goals, Pep will sacrifice the attack to try and sort out the shape. And I think they probably keep the most clean sheets. I think with Van Dijk gone, Liverpool would be lucky to keep, like, if they keep another 10 clean sheets in the final 31 games, I think they'll end up on 11 clean sheets, maybe 12 for the season. That's where I think they're going to end up being.
Yeah, and I think we're going a little bit backwards with the City talk, but it kind of goes back to, I do think City will probably have the most clean sheets this season. I agree with everything you said there. I think Diaz is as much an option as Cancelo for me, in terms of, like, he just looks like a bit of a fucking solid pick, especially when Laporte's playing. With Cancelo, he didn't start the first 3 games. Don't know why. That could have been, like, I'd just be lying if I tried to come up with why he didn't start the first 3 games, but he didn't start. He's played the last 3. That's 50% starting. I need to see, for a 5.4 defender, I need to see a bit more guaranteed starts. And you could be onto something, Seamus. I'm not completely dismissing him, but I think I'm a little bit burnt by the Phil Foden rotation over the last 2 weeks, and that's kind of put me off. Anyone that isn't KDB or Sterling, or maybe a Jesus when he comes back. But getting back to it, you think City, I think you could be right. Do you not think Liverpool will be up in the top 2-3 teams to with the most clean sheets at the end of the year?
Not unless there's a very low average amount of clean sheets. I like I said, I predict they will end up with no more than 12 clean sheets at this point. I mean, if they've kept 1 clean sheet in 7, I can see them improving to keeping like 10 clean sheets or 11 clean sheets in 31. But without Van Dijk, they will be exposed. They have players who won't clear the ball properly. They haven't got that leader there organizing them. They're going to be playing this stupid high line that they play, and there's going to be somebody out of position who's not used to it. Some team's going to be in behind. Like, honestly, they could end up with like 7 or 8 clean sheets this season. If they keep going this way, we don't know how Klopp is going to react to try and counteract that. Is he going to change them to like play a deeper line? If they play a deeper line, is Trent going to get as far forward? Then we just don't know. There's lots of variables here, and I just honestly think clean sheets are like, we kind of take them for granted. Oh yeah, City or Liverpool will have 13, 14, 15 clean sheets this year. That on top of the fact that Robbo is going to have minimum 15 attacking returns because he had 19 last year, he had 14 the year before. He's not going to have 19 attacking returns. He looks nowhere near it. Maybe he will. Maybe it'll come, and then we're going to be like, here he is. Here's the guy we all know. But it's not there. And while there's improvement, he's still not even as good improving or showing as much form as Robbo. If I had Robbo, I'd probably be tempted to stick with him. But like, Trent has shown, he hasn't looked it. Just hasn't looked it. And I can't see any evidence that would say to keep it. Everything is telling me, get rid of him.
Yeah.
But there's that part of me that's going, you playing this long enough, you get rid of a good player, they'll just suddenly look good the next game, and you're going, shit, now he looks good, and now I've got to try and get him back in my team. So there's that fear. That's the main thing. It's fear is the reason I'm not getting rid of him.
Fear of missing out. Yeah.
Fear, not trust. Not trust, fear.
I get it. I do agree with the majority of what you said there. I have Robertson. I do feel a lot more comfortable. I am a little bit concerned about the City match. Obviously, I'm not expecting jack shit from that. So for me, I'm looking at your position with Trent, and I'm thinking, so you're going to jump off him this week, so you're not going to hold on to him for the City match, surely, if you're thinking of getting rid of him, because why not? You have 2 transfers, you reduce your money in your defense, and you pump it up somewhere else. But look, that's for another episode in what mistakes Seamus made next. Moving on to the next match. It was the first match of the Sunday. We've already touched on this quite a bit, but Aston Villa beaten by Southampton 3-4 on the day. Ward-Prowse reminding us all what he's capable of on set places. 2 goals and an assist, yellow card as well, and I don't even have to check. I can almost guarantee he got the 3 bonus points. So quite a haul for himself. I doubt he's going to turn too many heads, because if you're looking at Southampton, I'm like, there's a healthy competition in the FPL at the moment for midfield spots, and if you're looking at Southampton, I'm sure the likes of Ings, who picked up another goal this week, Adams, who got the assist, they must be, well, for me, they're ahead in the pecking order of assets I might like to invest or reinvest in, as the case with Shea Adams is. But What about you, Seamus? Vestergaard, he got another
Yeah,
goal.
well, yeah, Ward-Prowse, you mentioned was an interesting one. Yeah, two free kicks. He actually it was his birthday. So like he
Oh,
had an amazing
really?
birthday. He scored two Premier League goals, got man of the match, got an assist. Yeah. It was actually his birthday. Heard that in match of the day. I just checked up there. Yeah, 1st of November.
Throw a
Yeah,
blowjob
so
on
fair
top
play
of
to
that.
him.
What more do you want?
He's moved up to number 7 in the list of top scoring midfielders at this point. He's 1 point behind Mane. So dismiss him at you as at your peril. But like 28 of those points have come in the last 2 games. So that's what you got to take on the chin. That's what she said.
Hey, oh.
But yeah, he had a great game. Got the 3 points. Grealish, as I said, we already touched him. He got a goal. He got 2 assists. I didn't even realize he won the penalty until I looked at it afterwards. So he got 15 points. I don't know why I feel hard done by. I could have easily gone for him, and I'm like, oh, but it just looked like for so long that I kind of fancied Southampton to beat Villa here. They were fucking, what is it, 4-0 up or 4-1 up or something like that for most of it, and then just to see like a flurry of goals at the very end, like was disappointing. Ings scoring again, kind of breaking my heart. That's 17 points he's scored in the time we got rid of him. In the same time, Harry Kane scored 11. So I'm 6 points down on that. And I've only really got, like, he got injured. The prognosis or the early results, he's going for a scan for this today or this week. The early results are they're not too concerned about it. They think it's not as serious as first thought. So he could be okay. It was a knee injury.
Yeah.
I saw afterwards Adams got an assist as well, and Armstrong got an assist. So lots of different options there. Mings scoring again. Watkins. One thing we should mention is the penalty taker is not Barkley like people thought. It's not Grealish like people thought might be as well.
Meh.
It's Watkins.
No. You hold off there a little bit now. Because that's not guaranteed. That needs to be asterisked for anyone listening to this. Because Grealish picked up the ball, was walking to the spot. Now I don't know what the chat was, why Watkins took it. Maybe it's like he hasn't scored since the Liverpool match. Yeah, maybe he hasn't scored since the Liverpool match, and we want to give him a bit of a confidence boost. And could very well be on penalties, but there's also a chance that Grealish is actually the one that decides who takes the fucking penalty. So if you're thinking Watkins, I'll at least get the penalties that Villa win. Don't count your chickens just yet. There needs to be a bit more kind of concrete proof on that, if you ask me. But it was interesting. He did take the penalty. He did score, and yeah, I mean, let's have a quick look at Villa's.
It was a good penalty as well. It was like that's what gives me hope that he might take it again. He smashed it in, and Grealish is the captain, and there was thoughts that he might take it, but Barkley was on the pitch at the time, and didn't look like he was going to take it, or he wasn't in the running. It was one of Watkins or Grealish. So yeah, it could change the next time. That's definitely something to. It's a good point.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I don't think Barkley, like as a Barkley owner, I don't feel like he's on penalties, which is a bit like balls. But that's the way it works. Looking at Villa's fixtures, I mean they've a toughie this week against Arsenal, but then as I mentioned earlier in the show, Brighton, West Ham, Newcastle, Burnley and West Brom all coming up next. Yeah, there's I think it's Wolves in the middle of that as well. But their Villa fixtures are pretty nice. So I mean, like if you're sitting on an Ollie Watkins, what price is he currently at the moment, Seamus? I'm asking you a question.
I had it there a moment ago, and he's 6 million. So I'm actually thinking I mentioned Wilson earlier on. I just don't think I can go to Wilson. He just does this. You get him in, he does nothing. You don't have him in, he's taking penalties. If Watkins, I thought, was the penalty taker, if he scored a penalty against Arsenal, for example, I think I'd go Kane to Watkins in game week 9 and save like 4.5 million and put that into midfield. That's what I think I would probably do rather than someone like Wilson, who I talked about a bit more. But yeah, 6 million is a great price. He'd only blanked 2 games before that, so I can't really see why and he's got a hat-trick. I don't think it's a confidence issue. I just think he was kind of like he was going to take it, and Watkins was like, no, remember, maybe you don't think
remember
of
you
me
promised.
I'm new to remember, I was like, I know I'm new to the club, but like I'm class of penalties, remember, from training. And he was like, oh yeah, you are class of penalties, yeah, you take them, so because I'm only okay.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way, I think that if I have Barkley 6 million, and I would much rather have Watkins, I think, there instead at the moment, in terms of like they're the same price, and at least it seems like Ollie Watkins has a nailed starting position. I don't see why they wouldn't. He was their massive signing for transfer signing this year.
Brentford, yeah. I don't think I would say I would much prefer him. If I had him, I wouldn't be going, oh, why am I stuck with Barkley when I really want Watkins? I mean, as long as you've some coverage there for their upcoming games after Arsenal, I think that's the important
I
thing.
think what I mean, just to elaborate, is just that I much prefer Grealish than Barkley. So if I'm going to,
Yeah,
that's what I
yeah.
mean. It's like if I have Barkley, why don't I have Grealish? I'm like, I mean, I know why I don't have him, but that was a bit of a punt on Foden that I took for those 2 weeks. And you know what? I got a goal out of it, so it's not the end of the world. But he is
No.
going to be making way for, spoiler alert, Zuchek this week, and that'll give me a few bob. Drop
Oh,
Foden.
Suchek. Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
I thought you were saying pronouncing Ziyech all wrong there, but yeah.
No, Suchek or Sauchek is this. It depends on the fucking commentator.
Oh.
But
Let's move on.
let's move on. Exactly, Seamus. You read my mind. There's only 3 more fixtures to go through, so we're not that stuck for time because, thankfully we only have the 8 matches to go through this week. Benefits of recording early. Next one, again, we've already touched on him, but it was Newcastle 2, Everton 1. Wilson stealing the show and Calvert-Lewin nicking a late consolation goal. I was fucking delighted to see that. I'll take 2 bonus points and a consolation goal.
So happy.
Because we
So
both
happy.
wildcarded into DCL, and I was my first week last week with him, so nothing. First game he hasn't scored this week, and up into the 92nd minute or something, it was looking the same this week. I was like, no, I haven't got myself a fucking dud here, have I? But no, he does. He still looks like lethal. Like he's fucking. Whenever he goes up for a header, I'm like, what's he got in his shoes? But yeah, Newcastle did take the 3 points this week, and a little return to an FPL familiar duo, Wilson Fraser. And Wilson, they got the second goal, and Wilson had won the penalty and scored the first one. So we won't spend too long on it, but it
It
just
should be mentioned there was a change of keeper. Pickford dropped. And I
yes,
mentioned a few weeks ago that, okay, yeah, they fucking lost here. But I said, Everton, defenders could be an option if Pickford wasn't in the team. And that looks like that's the case now. That being said, they're decimated with injuries. Like, well, not decimated, but the right back is injured. Coleman's out. Their left back, Digne, is suspended with a red card.
he's
So
back
they
now.
have guys filling in.
He's back now, though.
He'll be back
Yeah.
now. But last game against Newcastle, they had square pegs and round holes there. That wasn't really working. They also are without Richarlison, who's suspended. And what's his face? No, your man is missing as well, James.
Gerrard.
So they're missing all their creativity. Like I was like, oh crap, Calvert-Lewin's not going to do anything. So to see him pop up, score, and get 2 bonus, like yourself, absolutely delighted. The XG will tell you, and the shots in total here will tell you a lot about it. Like the XG stats, Newcastle had 2.97 XG to 1.46 for Everton. I think a lot of that though is Callum Wilson scored from like half a yard out. He's basically like on the line when he tapped it.
I was wondering if
So
it was even going to be his goal. I was like, did that cross the line before? But yeah, no, it was his goal.
I think it actually might have been going across the goal. I think it might have went wide. So I think like that would have been an XG of 0.9 or something like that, I imagine. And the penalty is obviously a high XG as well. So yeah, look, he's again getting more penalties. So he's doing things there. Everton, yeah, I think I'm just going to put that down to injuries, man. And coming up against a Newcastle team that thought they could get at them and just outperformed them on the day.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think there's too much reason to panic in regards to, as you said, Everton's form. It was very much a case of, look, let's see what we can do, because yeah, their starting 11 was kind of a little bit decimated. I think Richarlison is a big loss. He really kind of takes a lot of focus off of DCL and just off of he just drags defenders onto him because he's fucking lethal. So
he's surely back soon, is he? When is he back? Because that's when I can see them improving again.
Yeah, I mean he is. I don't know if it's this week, but if it's not this week, it's certainly next week. But Everton have a tough one this week anyway against Man United, so they will be hoping to get him back. But for DCL owners, you're not going to be
tough.
Yeah, well, tough in regards to. I mean, I don't know. We give United a lot of shit, and we're going to give them a bit more shit pretty shortly. But defensively, they're not an absolute shambles. I mean, outside of that Spurs match, you know that they're not. Stats wise, they are always up there. A lot more than you'd imagine. For me, a lot more than I'd ever imagine. Looking at the results and whatnot. But yeah, tough enough one this week, at least FDR wise. But then Fulham, Leeds, and Burnley in the next 3. That's tasty fixtures, so DCL owners won't be worried. And Newcastle, Yeah, their fixtures kind of take a nice turn after game week 9. I mean, they've an okay one this week, away to Southampton, but then a tough one against Chelsea in game week 9. But then Crystal Palace, Villa, West Brom, Leeds, I think, and Fulham. I can fucking barely read it. Fancy Football Scout, if any of you listen to this, put the ticker back to the way it was. It's an absolute shite the way it looks now. But yeah, they're not bad. I know that we have a couple of people in the mini league with Wilson, and I'm going, hey, like he's tipping away. Like he's got to be up there in terms
more
of
points than Calvert-Lewin now,
and Trent Alexander-Arnold. Would you believe?
I think everyone has more points than Trent, man. So that's fine. But yeah, he's got more points than Calvert-Lewin now, and everyone's creaming themselves over Calvert-Lewin, and rightly so. But it's not like he's not owned by people. He's like 13.4% owned, Wilson. So yeah. It's just by comparison to Calvert-Lewin, who's like 56% owned.
No, great spot to have more than to have more than DCL at this stage. Is it's like no one was really talking about Wilson. I mean, yeah, he scored in I think game week 1, and he's on the thumbnails and he's here and there, but it's Newcastle, so you're kind of it's similar to that Zaha argument I made a while ago where I'm not expecting Newcastle to be very attacking or really threatening teams, offensively. So I wasn't really looking at them. You gotta be kind of changing your mind a little bit now, at least opening your mind, Seamus, which is something I know you hate to do. But yeah, I think that's about it for the Newcastle Everton match. Wilson and the two strikers really stealing the show there. No clean sheets to be found. And then on to the Man United Arsenal match. We won't spend too long on this because there just isn't a lot to talk about. I think
just depress ourselves if we did.
Yeah, I mean, like the main issue for me, the main talking point for me is there's two. Aubameyang getting his goal. He'd been on a bit of a dry run, so he scored a penalty, and that kind of it broke his duck a little bit. Bellerin picking up an assist. He is someone that I'm kind of looking at in terms of, especially if those looking to jump off of Robertson and Trent. 5 million. Yeah. Aston Villa, Leeds, Wolves, Spurs, Burnley, Southampton, so forth. Like, not a bad run of fixtures, and he is like, if you can say anything about Arteta, it's that he has got the lads organised. Very organised.
Yeah, and Bellerin, you mentioned him, is somebody I was looking at for my wild card in game week 4. Mm-hmm. Didn't go from that particular week, ended up with 11 points. I'm going, And part of the reason why I was looking at him is like, we've seen in seasons gone by, not last season because he was injured for a lot of it, but previous seasons he's got 6 assists, 5 assists, 4 assists, 5 assists. We know he gets forward and he's quite attacking. He's 5 million. He is somebody I feel like, maybe I should have went with him a few weeks ago, but his fixtures turn and they look pretty good now going forward. I mean, their next 4 home games are Aston Villa, Wolves, that's tough, Burnley and Southampton. Those are all nice home fixtures, and he's going to start, so he could be somebody that I would be interested in getting. Got the 3 bonus because he got the assist, won the penalty. Aubameyang, no interest, not with his price. I don't really care if he's on penalties. They're not scoring a lot. Like Arteta is just too defensive. They were excellent against United. They put a really high press. United couldn't bring the ball from defence into midfield at all. Couldn't create anything apart from Greenwood had one really good chance. That's the only one I can really think of.
Yeah, I think the only other talking point there, I agree with everything you said regarding Arsenal. The only other talking point there is Fernandes getting subbed off on 75th minute. It has to be a sickener for owners like myself. Now, don't get me wrong, I wasn't expecting the massive haul here, but he does take penalties, and when United are chasing the game, you do not expect him to take off your best attack, well, arguably your best attacking option in the midfield. So to see him come on for and with McTominay still on the pitch, it was silly. I'm not going to get into the tactics of it, but Fernandes owners, they got to be a little bit worried. I know I'm a little bit like, I'm definitely holding on. Like, the reason he's still there is because, as you mentioned earlier, I'm a little pissy that you've spotted it. But I suppose that's the joys of playing the game for 14 years. Is that West Brom fixture in game week 9? Game week 9, yeah. Like, he looks to me like he'll be my captain that week because there is not a lot of options. Liverpool against Leicester, City against Spurs, but United with a lovely home match against West Brom. Now, United have yet to win at home this season, so I don't know how lovely that match is anymore. And yeah, I'm a little bit concerned. Like, I'll definitely be a bit nervous putting the armband on him if that does come to pass, because I don't really know what to make of United at home at the moment. But that's all I wanted to say on the Man United Arsenal match. You have anything left on that, Seamus?
No, no.
Grand.
Let's move on because it's just depressing me even thinking back on watching that match.
Yeah. Last match of the game week thus far, Sunday evening, late kickoff, Spurs versus Brighton. Heavy FPL investment in that match on both teams really, and Kane, Lamptey. Two heavily owned players of completely different sides of the spectrum, both in and amongst the points. We kind of touched on it already. Spurs grinding out a 2-1 victory against Brighton. Spurs, I'm telling you now what I said at the start of the season. I think their position in the league betrays them a little bit. Their performances are betrayed a little bit. They were not great against Brighton.
No, they weren't.
Brighton, I think Potter got his tactics wrong at the start of the match. He decided to sit back really, really deep and let Spurs have the ball, and that was just not working. And you saw it. As soon as they got the penalty, he had to change shit up. And he did, and it proved fortuitous for them, in the sense that Lamptey scoring the equaliser, and it took a late goal, first in 7 years or something for Gareth Bale in a Spurs jersey. Did I hear that somewhere?
I heard something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I assume you're getting Bale straight into your team now.
Maybe in draft if I can, someone will trade him. That's about it. But no, price wise, no, it's too expensive. He'll start games soon, I'm sure, but we don't know when exactly. The other player in the similar price bracket to him was Son. Son had 1 goal attempt this game, not on target. Son, I'm just looking at that. He had 2 penalty area touches. Compared to Lallana, had 9 penalty area touches. Trossard had 5 penalty area touches. Even Bale in his limited minutes had 3 penalty area touches. So, Son had an off day.
He did.
People would have captained him. Kane played the first half very deep. He at least had some chance. He had 2 goal attempts, both inside the box. 2 big chances. One, obviously, he hit the post, so that could have been more points for you. You must have been a bit sickened to see that, where he couldn't sort out his feet and react quick enough.
It wasn't that he couldn't sort out his feet. It was that, by the time he had sorted his feet out, the angle was just gone. That was I was like, edge to see kind of, that's all I wanted was the second goal, and it's literally this much of a difference. Just that angle was so fucking, tight.
Yeah.
It was a weird one, though. You would have expected, on a different day, him to stick that, but I guess he's gotten too much practice defending at the moment, so he's kind of sticking him outside the post.
Yeah. But he was playing very deep. First half, he was Kane was playing in almost centre midfield, like we've seen him do that quarterback role, and Son was playing almost centre forward, but Son then kind of seemed to drift more out to the left hand side once they went ahead, and then Son wasn't seen for the rest of the game. But Reguilon got the assist for. He's somebody who's been attracting interest. Bit too pricey for my liking, especially considering that they're not really keeping clean sheets. Game week 8 against West Brom. I don't think I'll be getting in just because of those fixtures in game week 9, 10, 11, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal. I'm not sure I'm going to go for them.
No, I'm with you. I do. I had Dyer. I thought I was kind of the start of the season. I was like, do you know what? This lad's going to keep his spot with Mourinho, and that's kind of proved to be the case. I do think he's nailed on for 5 million, but Spurs aren't keeping clean sheets at all, really. And this week with Reguilon getting booked and losing the clean sheet inside the 60 minutes, I was like, oh, okay, well, there you go. That's why. And he did pop up with that late assist, which is kind of a signal, because he's 4% owned. So there's a few people picking him up, but I'm with you. I don't think I want to be looking anywhere near Spurs, especially with the likes of Chilwell and Zuma. Like we've talked about Chelsea's defensive options, they're all there, far ahead of Spurs in my mind. But I think that wraps up the Spurs game. Unless there's anything you want to touch on, Seamus, before we tie on it. 2 things. I just to underscore that game, Brighton just seem like they're going to be that team that we're going to consistently talk about as, they really should be getting better results. They really should have won that game when they lose or draw games. And that's not a good position to be in. Will they start turning these some good performances into wins? Will they start performing when they're not, already chasing games? Will they hold on to leads that they have? Yeah, maybe they will.
but I definitely don't want Trossard in my team anymore. I don't want two players. I kind of tempted to hold on to Trossard, another game or two because I probably have other transfers I can make.
And their
So that's the
fixtures,
last thing.
yeah, their fixtures aren't like poor for Brighton. That's the thing, in the sense that like up next they have a home match against Burnley, then they have an away match to Villa, Liverpool, of course. That's going to be probably the toughest game of the season, and then Southampton, Fulham, Sheffield United, all in the next 7 or 8 matches. So their fixtures are still decent, but I'm with you. I think I like when I saw Trossard starting up front this week, I was going, oh, typical. I was like, are you kidding me? He's like, Seamus' 6 million differential is now playing up front. Now if that continues,
he's been playing up front anyway, kind of a 2. That's kind of when you see the lineups and come out, he's up there with Maupay, but he kind of gets to move around off him.
Maupay owners are going to
pulls out wide and stuff.
Yeah, Maupay owners are going to be sickened to, like, they'll be concerned. Like, why wasn't he even on the squad? That's what I want to know. Potter said tactical. That's a load of shite. Yeah. You don't like not have a striker in the subs bench, tactically.
But like all that tactical means is he was dropped. Like dropping somebody for form is a tactical.
Did you watch the Potter interview or did you read it?
No, but I heard about it.
Yeah, well, I watched it, and you knew that those eyes, they were betraying him. There's something going on there. Maupay's a mouthy little cunt, and I guarantee you there's something else going on there. But look, we'll see. Hopefully I'm wrong.
The same thing happened with Matt Ryan.
Exactly. So, I don't know, maybe Maupay and Matt Ryan are breaking off on their own, setting up their own Brighton team. We don't know. But
I reckon they were caught kissing in the showers, and he was like, no, lads, come on. Keep it outside the dressing room, please.
No company,
You're both dropped.
No intercompany relationships. So that is the Brighton and Spurs game. It's also the end of the podcast. Now, before we completely go, I am going to pop this up on screen. Seamus said he doesn't want to do the mini league, and he's right. He said, "Fuck them. They're useless. I'm sick of looking at it." It's basically because he's propping up the whole league, as Stevosaurus Rex kindly reminded him. Incorrectly earlier on this week, but as a quick look at it as it stands before tonight's fixtures, Damien McCallion is still the top, Paul Galloway is second, Javendra Ray is dropped down to third, but again, fixtures left, Paul Galloway the second. Your days are numbered, my friend, so either get on to us and let us know what fucking team you want in the team or in the league, or they're both gone. I did a quick shout out, we'll only do the top 5, quick shout out to Ian Walsh, big friend of ours, and he's having a smashing season, 52 points this week as well, so he's in the top 5, and he's pretty chuffed about it. But if you do want to join the league, it's EH4HH7, that's the mini league code, EH4HH7. That'll be open for a couple more weeks, but maybe not so long. We haven't really talked about it yet. Seamus, take us home, give everyone those nasty details.
Okay, before I do, just a quick update to let you know that Mitrovic has 2 assists here at the moment as Fulham are 2-0 up against West Brom. No one's going to have Bobby Reid or that guy, Ola Aina, the fullback. They're the guys with the goals. So that's a little bit there. So if you're on the Sam Johnson, is it Sam Johnson? Yeah, goalkeeper, you've just lost your clean sheet. Leeds Leicester later on, of course. But yeah, if you want to find us, we will have to have a drunk tank next week. Will we? Yeah, we'll put. If we're doing an early pod next week, we'll put the drunk tank out the night before. Or something like that.
If we even do a pod next week, I'm half tempted to call an international break, because it's next international break after that, isn't it?
That's true. That's correct.
Yeah. So
we'll decide next week. We'll let you know. But if you do want to reach out to us, you will find us primarily on Twitter. That's where we're going to be most engaged. We're going to be at FPL Hangover, and that's where you'll find Jur. I'm going to be found at FPL Drunk. You can also email us, fplhangover@gmail.com, if you want to go old school. We're also on YouTube. Look for the FPL Hangover page and subscribe, like that stuff. We're also on all the major podcast platforms, including iTunes this year. So if you can like, rate, or leave a review, that'd be amazing. And yeah, anything else? What have I failed to mention there?
No, that's nail on the head, Seamus.
That's everything.
Yeah, nail on the head. As you said, make sure to give us a like or subscribe, especially on YouTube and Apple, because that shit makes a fucking huge difference. But yeah, we can leave it there, folks. Enjoy game week 8. I hope it's a better shout for you than it'll be for us, because the way shit's going, who knows. But yeah, enjoy it, guys, and God bless.